One Volvo V70 turbo 2.4 liter engine, and this car has a no start condition. It tries to start, it acts like the engine's out of time. It almost acts like the engine locks up at times during trying to start up. If you are successful in getting it started, it runs great. You can drive it for hours, but as soon as you shut it down, you may or may not get it started again. So you know, this one happens to be one that my wife drives, and pretty much I was told not to come home until I got it fixed, so I got tired of sleeping on the couch at the shop and figured I better buckle down and solve the problem. So this is what we have found on it. Alright, this car, one of the first things you want to look at is grounds. There's some grounds over here on the passenger side for the computer, make sure they're good and clean. Grounds over here on the driver's side, make sure they're good and clean. You also want to make sure that your transmission, if anybody's worked on this car, is mounted flush against your engine. No bolts are missing or loose. This transmission has to be contacted firmly or have very good contact to the engine block. This one actually had a loose bell housing bolt and one missing. Now, I also want to mention that this car was storing cam and crankshaft codes during this no starting problem. The tach was jumping and it was blowing some white smoke. So, I'm looking at cam and crankshaft now. Crankshaft is right here. I'll put my light on that so you can see it. That's the housing for it right down there. It's an aluminum housing. Some of these are mounted in a plastic housing. It's right on top of the transmission. If yours has a plastic housing, there's a bolt-in for a copper washer that needs to be installed there. You can remove the crankshaft very easily with a 10mm bolt, and you can look down on the flywheel and see the reluctor wheel. You can have somebody rotate the engine slowly and make sure the reluctor wheel is in good shape. It's not bent or damaged. Your camshaft is right back here behind this mount. You pull that off and it comes out. It monitors the exhaust camshaft. But basically what we found is the cam and crankshaft wires, which are right here, if they are close to the starter, and this one actually was, the wires were kind of naked. Well, I'll just say the tape had come off and they were looking like this right here. They had the actual wire colors exposed instead of being wrapped up in the conduit. And they were laying right on top of the starter motor. Both of these, cam and crank. So basically when the starter motor was running, you're trying to start the car, it was interfering with the cam and crankshaft frequencies to the engine control module, which happens to be underneath this cover right here. Just pop this off. That's your engine control module. That's your transmission control module. There's videos on how to remove those components. They take special tools. If you want to ohm out your frequencies going to the cam and crankshaft, you can do that by taking off your module and going to the connectors here. But what we had to do on this one is we had to take the wires that were laying on top of the starter and reroute them around the air duct here and get them away from the starter motor. We also taped them up a little bit, and once we did that, made sure our transmission was bolted up securely to the engine, the car started and ran fine. No trouble codes, everything's good. Which makes me happy because I can go home now. Now, one thing that also helps if you're troubleshooting, you get a little frustrated with it, it always helps to have a nice big ugly fat dog here that you can pet. Kind of take your mind off of things and you get back into it. And then once you get your car fixed, you can take this dog for a road test in your car. Well, maybe not your wife's car, but in a car. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.